Knicks get blown out at the Garden last night by the Cleveland Cavs. They lose by 32, really never a game. Steve Popper joins us. He is a New York Knicks beat writer for the Bergen Record and joins us here on Big Board Sports on ESPN Radio in Albany. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
Good, Steve. I guess no surprise, right? I mean, on the back-to-back games, no Derrick Rose last night, out with back spasms. Throw in the fact that Cleveland and LeBron a little upset with, Phil Jackson, and you could just tell that LeBron and his team out for blood last night, and they got it.
Yeah, that last one maybe more than any, kind of has something to do with it that, guys can come to New York and a lot of guys travel in and enjoy, let's just say, the perks of New York City, the late bar hours, and you wind up seeing teams, struggle in ways that they don't normally on the road. But you could see just a focus and a fire from LeBron last night, right from the opening tip. You can kind of see him. He'd dunk, he'd run up court, staring towards Jackson. Look, it makes no sense to the whole thing has made no sense what Phil did with LeBron, from mentioning him for no reason, butting his nose in, and kind of disclosing some private things, the use of the word, which I don't think Phil meant it in a racist way, but just a dumb thing that you could have, diffused right away if you just, sucked up the little bit of your ego and just said, my bad, wrong choice of words, didn't mean to offend. It would have been easy to get over it, but Phil, lets these things drag on and wants to think he's the smartest guy in the room always. And whether you are or not, you saw the price you paid for it last night.
Yeah, and not too smart criticizing Carmelo Anthony to come off a 35-point performance against Miami. But you know what? Having said all of that, for some reason, Steve, I guess I'm not surprised. At the same time, I am. Look, it's the Cleveland Cavs. I know you're coming off a game the night before. I know how that goes for a lot of teams, but this is a team, the Knicks, with a 4-game winning streak. People are talking nicely about them like they're pretty good. You got Cleveland at home. It's LeBron, and you get blown out. I'm not surprised, but I guess if you're a Knicks fan, you're hoping for a little bit better last night. At least make a game of it.
Well, I think that's the thing is that, and that's where the stuff with Phil comes in is, Cleveland is better than them. There's no doubt about that. And you can kind of expect that you were going to get beat by them, but you want to make a game of it, and you want to, put a good showing on national TV. And what they did instead was, just get manhandled from the start. And on both ends, the Cavs came out on fire, and the Knicks came out lifeless. They looked intimidated, overwhelmed at times. And I think that was a real bad showing. But I think this does have deeper repercussions for the Knicks, some of the comments by Phil. Because every time he seems to get out, he digs himself a deeper hole. And I think his bigger problem than LeBron, twice a year, and let's not worry about getting past LeBron because you're not in the same class as him. But your problem right now is that your star, who likes Carmelo a lot better than he likes LeBron better than he likes Phil Jackson, is kind of listening to this and shaking his head that, he's being picked on here when he's coming off a 35-point game. He's had 2 game winners in the last 11 days. The team is playing well. He's kind of, been a good soldier through the 17-win seasons and, all the triangle nonsense. And for no reason, really, Phil picks the time to kind of poke and tweak at him. Carmelo was not happy with it last night. Carmelo is one of the most amiable guys you'll ever meet in the locker room, before, after, a win, a loss. And what we saw last night was a Carmelo Anthony that nearly walked out of the interview when the Phil stuff came up. He wasn't happy. If you think players don't talk, Phil is silly there. This is, LeBron is his friend. He vacations with him, not Phil. I think this is something that could linger and be a problem for them. And look, Carmelo doesn't want to go anywhere with the no-trade clause, and I don't think he will, which probably could be more problematic for Phil, that he's going to have an unhappy star, in-house.
Steve, I got to ask you here. It just seems like Phil Jackson lacks awareness at times, like general awareness. Not only that he's affiliated with the club, it seems that he often forgets sometimes, or so it seems, but then also awareness the timely manner in which your team won 4 in a row, and he chooses to say these kind of things. And I know you just referenced this a little bit, but like, is this a rift that is much deeper than we see between Carmelo and Phil?
Well, I think part of it is just self-imposed on Phil's part, that one has an unbelievable arrogance, whether it's, picking fights with LeBron, Carmelo, Greg Popovich, anybody else, Pat Riley, anyone who seems to get in the way of the narrative of his legend, that he wasn't the one responsible for all the 11 rings, and no one else can do what he did, and he's this, sensational guru and Zen master. But I think it's also just, I don't even know how to describe it. I think it's a 71-year-old guy who's tilting at windmills and just likes to, hear himself talk and has this unbelievable ego. He's not the guy that I think we expected, to see in New York. He's not the guy who left here, 40-some years ago with a championship. He's never seemed very happy to be back here once he started getting criticism. And frankly, I'm surprised he's made it this long. And always seems to be, looking for an exit or, planning, the way that he's going to leave this legacy here. And I think the legacy is not going to be great. It's, I think they're a good team now, which is what happens when you spend 2 summers in a row. They made some good moves. Derrick Rose was a good trade. I think a low risk, 1-year deal. Although, would you rather have Robin Lopez's contract right now or Joakim Noah's? I think most Knicks fans would probably tell you they'd rather have Lopez's deal. So it's a strange thing. It's not what I think anybody expected, including Carmelo, who I think, tied himself to this, to Phil with the whole believe in Phil, and that's why I'm going to re-sign here. He had a chance to jump to contenders, but he didn't do it, and now he's kind of stuck in this sort of limbo here that I think is never going to result in a championship here.
I tell you what, criticizing Carmelo Anthony, though, just makes absolutely no sense. You want to call him into your office, fine, but to criticize him publicly like that, the face of your franchise, is just a real puzzling and stupid move by Phil Jackson. Steve Popper, Bergen Record, New York Knicks beat writer. Keep up the great work. We thank you for a few minutes here on Big Board Sports on ESPN in Albany.
Of course, anytime, guys.